Hey, it's Anna. Welcome back to my channel, and it is time for the July readathon. I feel like it's been so long since I have done a readathon because I did my June readathon early. So I feel like I haven't sat down in a while and just chatted. So I love making these videos and dedicating a whole weekend to reading and trying to hit over 24 hours. So let's get into what books I plan to read. And I do have an audiobook that I'm technically finishing during the readathon, but I don't have that much time left on it. So I'm going to save that one for last. Let me show you the lineup that I am hopeful, scared. I don't really know what's gonna happen. It'll be very interesting. So for audiobooks first, we have When in Rome, which I believe is by Sarah Adams. I don't actually remember. And then we have A Fragile Enchantment, A Fragile Entanglement. You can tell I did not look at these titles before starting this video, but I have two audiobooks. I think both holds on Libby have less than 10 days, and I picked them up because when they came off of hold, I was like, I have a readathon coming up. I'll get a decent portion of the way in. I usually finish an audiobook during a readathon, so I should be able to finish one and then focus on the other next week. This also feels very early in July because I feel like my book totals at the end of this video specifically are going to be just like off the charts for other months, but I also could be very, very wrong. I do have two ebooks as well. How far I want to get into those? I don't really know. So the first is Ami, which is a Guardians of the Dawn book. I just recently started it. I really liked Zara. I gave it a 4 out of 5, but I feel like it's one of the strongest 4 out of 5s I've given. So it'll be really interesting to see how I feel about this book going forward. It is a fantasy book, which honestly I'm thankful for because I feel like I've read a lot of romance this month. Both my audiobooks are romance and I have more romance books to talk about. So I'm really looking forward to reading that one. And then I've also started, I don't think it's an arc because it's already out, but I've already started The Soulburn Talisman, which I think is like a middle grade fantasy, which honestly is just kind of refreshing because again, I've read a lot of romance this month, so it's nice to throw in something different. That one I can't actually read on my Kindle. I don't know how to get the PDF on my Kindle. I'm clearly not thinking through how I'm supposed to use my Kindle and how to get PDFs on it. So I have to read it on my laptop, which will be very interesting because I don't usually read on my laptop and I don't know how it's going to go. I'm not very far into it. I think I may be like 10% technically into it. So there's still quite a bit to go for that one. Same thing with Ami. I definitely am not that far into it. I'm 5% into Guardians of the Dawn Ami. And then see, when I click on the Soulburn one that I tried to put on here, it just doesn't open. Oh my gosh, it opened. Okay, well, you just saw that live. So let me find where I am. Well, I lied. I'm only 7% into Soulburn Talisman, but that's my bad. I was going based off of like counting pages total on my computer. So we clearly have quite a ways to go in the fantasy ebooks, pretty much. That's how I'm gonna categorize them. And then shocking, we have two romance paperbacks from my last video meeting Julie Soto and Ashley Poston. I'm gonna start with Ashley's with the novel love story. I'm about halfway through. Pretty proud of myself because I just got these books pretty much last Sunday is when I'm truly counting it. I got them on Saturday, but I didn't really have a lot of time to read them last Saturday. So I feel pretty good, especially because this work week has been a little bit unpredictable. So I'm halfway through a novel love story. Would love to finish it. I am leaning towards I'm gonna finish this one first simply because there are less pages. It's not as thick. However, I don't feel as invested in this one, which I'm kind of like, because I really liked Ashley's first two novels that I read by her, The Dead Romantics and The 7-Year Slip. This one's just different. I feel like even though there was magic in Ashley's other books, we got some explanation kind of for it, right? In The Dead Romantics, the main character can see ghosts. Okay, there's your magical part. The explanation, she's had this since she was a kid, right? There's your explanation on the magical part. The 7-Year Slip is that the aunt warns the main character that the apartment can go back 7 years in time. And then it does. Okay, do we know exactly why it goes back 7 years in time? No, but we know that the apartment is going to go back 7 years in time. So again, I feel like both of those are explainable magics. With the novel love story, our main character winds up in the town of her favorite romance books. Have we found out why yet? No, we have not. And that is the biggest thing where I'm just like, I need some type of explanation for the magic, I guess. And that's what I've gotten in other Ashley books, but not this one. So I've had to kind of like let go of that expectation, try to go along for the ride. But now I'm just like more confused than ever, especially halfway through the book. So that's where we are with this. It's definitely not my favorite of her books, for sure. I mean, 7 Year Slip and Dead Romantic, I liked both of those better than this one off the bat. So we're gonna see how this one ends up. Julie Soto, on the other hand, now I have heard she does fan fiction. I haven't read it, so I've only read Forget Me Not by her. I really liked Forget Me Not. I liked how Not Another Love Song was very different than Forget Me Not, because in Forget Me Not, the two main characters have a lot of history. In Not Another Love Song, these two don't really have history. They haven't really met each other before. Again, I would say I'm halfway through, or very close to halfway through, based off of where my bookmark is. And I'm liking this one better to a point. The main character, like, he's okay. I don't mind the female main character at all. I feel like I can relate to her to a point, and I think the main male character, I'm just like, I don't know, not my favorite. But I am more invested in finding out specifically what's going to happen with her, because I feel like the one thing in Forgive Me Not is Julie had a great subplot with the female main character and one of the older side characters, and you get that again here, where you have a younger female character, you have older folks in her life that are, you know, trying to lead her in what they feel is the right direction, but it might not actually be the right direction for her. So I'm really, really liking this one so far. So it'll be really interesting to see how this turns out. This is obviously a lot more pages than a novel love story. Maybe not a lot, but like the thickness of the books are pretty significant. So that's why I think I'm just going to finish this one a little bit later, because of how much longer it is. Probably going to finish this one first. And then because I'm going to be listening to so much romance and reading so much romance, and I do have breaks with my ebook arc, I do have 2 backup books. I don't know if I'm going to actually get to them, but I just want to show them anyway. The first is the 8th book in the Pendragon series. I told myself if I finished 1 more arc and the 2 physical books, I could start this book. This is my favorite book in the Pendragon series. It is a 10-book series. The fact that book 8 is my favorite, I love that. I have rated 3 other books 5 stars in the series because I'm rereading all of it. You'll see that video hopefully in November, but I would love to start this one. And I do already know what my in-person August book club pick is, which is one of which is Dead by Geneva Rose. So maybe I'll pick up that one instead of the Pendragon one, because the Pendragons I've really been sticking to. The first of the month is when I start reading it and seeing if I can read 1 each month. I happen to finish book 7 very early, and there are quite a few days left in July after this readathon is over, so I might pick up this one instead just to get a jump on reading for book club. So I feel like we have a lot going on, which I'm very excited about. And in terms of what I have planned this weekend, not really anything, which is really exciting. I do think I want to reorganize some books. I'm not really sure what I want to do. I'm not sure. I'm looking around. I got a lot of books all over the place. In terms of at least today for Friday, I'm actually going in person to work, which I don't usually do. And then ideally going grocery shopping after that. I think that's going to be a pretty decent time for me to get some audiobook listening done. So before I even get into When in Rome or Fragile, Entanglement, Enchantment, I have to look on which one I'm actually starting with first too. I'm going to finish How to End a Love Story. I believe that's what that's called. And I have like, I don't know, 30-ish minutes left. So technically I'm going to finish it during the readathon. I tried to finish it last night, but I was so tired I went to sleep. And it's a book. I feel like that's like the worst way to describe it. I feel like some people could really relate to it. I feel like maybe I'm not one of those people. And I am very, very confused by, frankly, both main characters. I don't think either main character is very consistent. And the plot itself is a very interesting concept in my opinion. So in How to End a Love Story, you have Helen who loses her sister. Her sister willingly decides to walk in front of a vehicle and she passes away. Okay. It is deemed that she, unalives herself. The parents are not accepting that because there was another person involved in the unaliving. They blame him. His name is Grant Shepard. Okay. So they have this history, a very traumatic history where they both have this different experience with the event that happened. Obviously him driving the car, her being related to the person that was hit. And then 13 years later, they end up in a writer's room for the TV show that Helen has written the books for pretty much. So also a book to TV adaptation. They're all in the writer's room and they start this romance. Here's my biggest problem. I feel like they just don't address the whole trauma bond that they potentially have very early on. And Grant is in therapy. So I was very surprised to see that like that was the approach that was taken, where it's like, hey, this has literally caused you trauma for years and years and years. You're starting to have feelings for this woman, but like we're not addressing what happened. Especially because the first scene in the book is Grant basically being turned away at the funeral by Helen's parents. He didn't even get a chance to properly grieve, right? So I think it's very complicated, very adult. The progression, I just don't know. It just hasn't been for me. And I don't know. So I feel really bad because like there's a lot of heart and emotion in the book and you can feel it, but it's just not hitting me the same way. So I'm kind of going to be glad to not have to read that book anymore. I'm going to be glad it's over. I don't know what I'm going to rate it. I think probably just like a 3 out of 5 because I feel like the beginning of the book I was a lot more sold on, and then there's a part in the middle of the book where I just feel like I completely flipped and I was like, no, I was like, this doesn't really seem to match either characters. It seems like we're really inconsistent. So that's where we're at with what I'm currently listening to. I have about a 40-minute drive to where I'm going to be working today, so I'm definitely going to finish How to End a Love Story, and then I am probably going to start another one of the books. I don't know which one. Currently, I am 20 minutes into the readathon. Last readathon, we hit 31 hours. That was wild. Do I think realistically I'm going to hit that again? No, 24 would be nice. If I got 30, I don't even know how I would realistically get there. I mean, I just don't. I feel like I had a lot of reading hours on Friday, and that's what really sets you up for success. I feel like in these weekend readathons is having a lot of time on Friday. So if I get a lot of time today, maybe. I just can't foresee that, and I've been extremely exhausted when coming home from working in person for a few days this week. So we'll see what it's looking like, but I will catch up with you hopefully as a wrap up today and actually know the book titles of the audiobooks that I am hopefully going to be reading during this readathon. Well, it's day 2 of the readathon. I did not do an update yesterday. My bad. I really didn't do much though after coming home from just like being exhausted working in person. And I don't think every job in person is exhausting. I think it's just a really busy time in the company that I work at right now. I just listened to When in Rome by Sarah Adams, and then I finished it today. And I played video games with my husband. I played some more video games this morning while listening to the audiobook. I think that's just what I needed. I don't know, reading for a little bit, like physically reading, just felt a little bit too work-like for me after the day that I had yesterday. So I just needed a little bit of a break, but I am really glad that I had When in Rome just ready to go. I thought it was a really cute book. So you have this Grammy Award winning artist named Ray Rose, but her real name is Amelia. She decides to follow in Audrey Hepburn's footsteps and visit the nearest Rome to her. And she has her car break down. She meets like the local town grump, and it's a romance novel, so on and so forth. I think one of the things that makes this at least unique in terms of romance novels to me, because I feel like every romance novel needs something that makes it stand out a little bit more too, right? So beyond the main male character owning a pie shop, you have these 3 sisters that I think really just added to the story as well. And also the town being really protective of Amelia, especially because she's trying to get a break. She's trying to kind of reset herself and find her love for singing again. And the town is just like really protective of her. So overall, I thought it was really sweet. I feel like I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I don't think it was anything like overly spectacular. If I had to give it a star off for any type of reason, I would just think it was because, I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it, I guess. I wish I had a better explanation than that, but it just didn't hit me like a 5-star read would. So maybe I'll think of a better reason down the line. I mean, like I said, I really liked the sisters. I liked the town setup. I liked some of the subplots with the twists and turns that we get as well. I guess the only thing is I feel like Ray felt like she was such on an island by herself, and like I feel like she didn't have any trust for anyone, that it just kind of got a little annoying, especially after they had already like proven themselves a few times. And when I mean they, I mean the townspeople, the sisters, and the male main character. It's like she was so refusing to give up that trust. So I don't know, maybe that's why it lost a star for me. But overall, I really enjoyed it. And then now I'm listening to A Fragile Enchantment. I've listened to like 50 minutes of it. It's the wrong book to listen to right now. I know it. I know that's one where I'm glad I have other things that I want to do while listening to an audiobook, because I don't think that concept is bad at all. I just don't think it's the right time for another romance fantasy book, in my opinion. I listened to the first 2 chapters and I was like, where are we going with this? I definitely booked too much romance all in a row, which is not very helpful for the next books that I'm going to talk about in day 2, like at all. So my plan is, as I'm holding a romance book, is hopefully to finish a novel love story before I have to go cut the grass. And then while I'm cutting the grass, I always listen to an audiobook. And then I think I'm probably gonna have to switch genres. I'm gonna have to if I want to be successful at all reading. I will say with Julie Soto's book, the place that I'm at right now is a lot less romance focused, so I might be okay to read this one. But I am really glad that I have 2 more fantasy-based arcs on my Kindle to go through. And I feel like that was just poor planning on my part for the readathon. Like the next book that I listened to on audiobook cannot be a romance, or I will just be so extremely sick of it. And A Fragile Enchantment is 14 hours. So I still have 13 hours to go in the book, and that just feels so long right now. It might end up being a really good book too. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying the timing that I'm reading it at right now, I know it's probably going to impact the rating. So let's get started reading a novel love story. Like I said, I hope I finish it before I cut the grass, but I don't know. We'll just see what the timing looks like, and we'll see how sick I am of romance after that book as well. I just realized I was thinking so much about my disdain for romance books at the current moment that I forgot to tell you how much time we're currently on at the readathon. So I've been reading for 11 hours and 14 minutes. So we're setting ourselves up really well to get 24 hours in, creeping towards maybe 30. But again, with so much romance, I don't really know. I've only read about, this is pathetic, I've read 3 pages of this book and I already don't want to keep reading it. I might have to temporarily switch to another genre. I might have to pick up something else. I don't know. We'll see how the chapter goes. I don't know. I feel really bad. I think this is the most I've ever struggled at a readathon in terms of like genre. Well, let's see how it goes. All right, it's day 3 of the July readathon, and oh boy, I definitely have not been updating as much this readathon. I feel like it was so long since the June one. It's almost like I forgot how to do this, but we'll get better. We'll get better now that readathons are back on like a regular cycle. I'm at 20 hours and 3 minutes, and it's only 7:40-ish in the morning. So getting to 30 is entirely doable today. I would love to get to 30 hours. I feel like that would be a great accomplishment, but we're just gonna see how the day goes. I definitely have things to do, and by things I mean, I don't know, chores, some responsibilities. I have one work thing. I usually don't work at all over the weekends. I have one little task I didn't finish Friday that I want to do today, but I might save that for tonight after the readathon's over. I don't know. I haven't decided full order of operations of my day yet. Yesterday I did finish a novel love story. I don't know how I feel about this one. It's definitely not a 5-star read for me. I can say that with my whole heart. I don't know where exactly it lands, because I feel like the message in this book is to go along with the journey, and I definitely have problems doing that as a reader. So I feel like this is a good lesson. However, I feel like I still have questions that aren't answered that I feel like Ashley Poston has kind of answered in other books before. So I'm not saying it's bad. Also, the love interest this time, I don't know. I feel like it just hits a little bit different, I guess. I didn't dislike the book. It just definitely wasn't my favorite. I'm leaning towards like a 3.5 just off the bat. So we're gonna have to see. I feel like I've not been reviewing books at all in a timely manner. So my brain has gotten used to really sitting on a book and thinking about it for a while. So that's kind of what we're gonna do with this one, is we'll just sit on it. But I am happy because now I have finished technically 2 audiobooks, but for sure 1 audiobook and 1 physical book during the readathon, which always makes me happy. And I am working my way through some other ones too. I got quite a ways into Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto. I'm definitely finishing this today. I don't know how long it'll take me to finish. I feel like the pages are just different than the Ashley Poston book. Like I have about 50 pages left, and I feel like I could finish that in like 45 minutes. I feel like I'm definitely reading pages like less than a minute per page in Julie's book. And I really like Not Another Love Song because I feel like it just builds on all of the good qualities that I really liked in Forget Me Not too. I feel like this book just has a little more depth for me compared to the Ashley Poston one that I just read. So I'm really thoroughly enjoying this. I think Julie is so smart with especially her subplots, where you definitely get some heavier spicy scenes, but you also get a lot of emotional scenes. You see a lot of growth emotionally with the characters, and the characters are young interacting with like older folks. And I think it's interesting because I didn't really get how it would be like to interact with some folks in your life that would be so influential until being introduced to the corporate world, because I feel like in teaching, at least where I was, there was a lot of younger teachers, so it really didn't happen as often in terms of like potential manipulation by like older folks. So I think it's just an interesting concept to explore in this book. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on other books that Julie continues to put out. I know she's doing a thriller. I'm very interested to see what that's going to look like, because I feel like she can definitely get you into the emotion of a book. So I'm sure her thrilling books are absolutely going to be terrifying. So the goal is to at least finish this today, definitely before noon. I've read nothing on my Kindle, so I also want to read some on my Kindle. And then one of the things that I have to do today, because I just realized I have to go in person to work tomorrow and I have book club tomorrow, so I don't have a lot of time, is I have to pretty much edit this video. Which while I'm editing this video, I'll listen to A Fragile Enchantment, which I have been listening to quite a bit. I'm over 5 hours into it and I feel like 5 things have happened. That is my only thought. I told somebody it does give me like Bridgerton with magic vibes. That's what it is. Now, Bridgerton, I feel like has a lot of longing. It's pretty slow. You get a lot of descriptions, and that's what A Fragile Enchantment is doing for me. They also really make a point about the main character's accent, and I'm like, dang, okay, you don't have to be so rude about how somebody talks. I will also say that the audiobook narrator for this book is not doing the book any favors. I feel like they definitely lean heavier into the accents, but if two people have the same accent, I feel like I can't tell who's talking. And then especially the male voices, couldn't tell you who was talking. I know the character names, which is good this time. We have Neem, who's our main seamstress. She essentially gets hired by the Prince Regent Jack to sew his brother's, Kit's, wedding garments. So we're following really Neem and Kit as they interact, but we also meet Jack Sinclair, who is friends with Kit and who's a little bit of a scandal in the kingdom. And then Rosa is Kit's fiance, and then Rosa has her like lady's maid best friend Miriam. So see, I know the character names, which is good, but it's definitely a book where like I have to end on a chapter or I will be lost. I can't stop in the middle of a chapter. I can maybe stop in the middle of a chapter for like a few minutes, but I have to end at the end of a chapter or I'm lost. I'm done. I just won't be able to do anything. I have to return the book, I think, in like 9 days, and so my goal is to get like a few hours into it today as well, because then if I don't listen to a full hour one day this week, it's not a huge detriment. So that's kind of the plan. I will definitely have plenty of audiobook time later in the day once I get up and start doing like chores, for example, like dishes, laundry, cleaning. So once I get up and start doing those things, I'll definitely have some more audiobook time, but I'm definitely going to switch to the physical books for now. I probably won't leave this spot until I finish Not Another Love Song, and then I don't know which one of my ebooks I want to pick up. Both are fantasy driven, which I think will be a good change. I will say A Fragile Enchantment does have quite a bit of fantasy elements to it, but like I said, it's like Bridgerton with magic, so it's not like we're without the romance aspect. I feel like the romance aspect, while it's not prevalent yet, the foreshadowing clues are being set, is how I'll say it. So let's get into Not Another Love Song. I'm super excited to finish this and then see what the heck I feel like reading on my Kindle. All right, it is still day 3 of the readathon, but I am cutting myself off. I have reached 30 hours, technically 30 hours and 14 minutes, and I still have enough time left in the day to film some content. I want to take advantage of this little bit of time that I have to film content and maybe even edit this video afterwards. So 30 hours I feel like is a pretty fantastic goal. I am super proud of that, and I did finish 2 more books today, and I'm well on my way through the audiobook. So let's start with what's not finished, which is A Fragile Enchantment. I think I have like less than 5 hours left, which is great because then if I listen to about an hour a day, I should be good. And I am driving to work in person tomorrow again, and so I'll have a decent bit of drive time to be able to listen to this book. So I overall feel like that's a positive. Yeah, Bridgerton with magic. I feel like if you like Bridgerton, you'd probably like this one with a little bit of magic thrown in. Nothing's really changed in the time that I've been listening to it. I guess technically we've gotten to like the more full-blown romance part, but I don't know. That's what I have to say about that one. I literally started looking for other books that were not romances to listen to because I know I have less than 5 hours left, but I don't have anything, I think, coming off of holds right away. And I know one of my holds coming off is actually going to be a romance, so I'm not going to listen to that one right away. So that's what I have left over from this readathon. I was not able to start One of Us is Dead or the 8th Pendragon book. I'm looking at them right now and I'm actually very sad I didn't get to start them, but that's okay because I did finish Not Another Love Song, which I really did enjoy. And I feel like what this readathon, especially with romances, allowed me to do is that I really feel like Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez is like my top tier romance right now. And that is the 5-star romance that all the other romances are trying to compare to. So this did not give me the exact same feelings as Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. So for this one, I am leaning towards between a 4 and a 4.5 though. I did still really enjoy this. I feel like if you have ever played an instrument, you will relate to the plot points in this book. I think it's really interesting to see the different worlds of music. And of course, something that I really think is interesting about Julie is the relationship that her characters have with older people in the world. And I feel like that's something where it's usually like, oh, a mom or a this or that. And Julie's complicated relationships are never with someone, in my opinion, that like the female main character is actually related to, you know? Like, yes, we have some like mom stuff that goes on in Forget Me Not, but overall, I really like looking at that complicated relationships because I'm an adult that has, you know, working relationships with older adults, and I'm not always sure how to feel about those. And I feel like this book just like validates a lot of my feelings. And then I also finished the Soulburn Talisman. Oh my goodness, it unlocked. Let me just put a picture here instead. I did finish Soulburn Talisman. I actually really enjoyed it. It definitely gave me middle grade fantasy vibes. It gave me first book of Pendragon vibes, which I feel like is a very high compliment because most people know how much I love the Pendragon series. And I feel like I really didn't know much about this book going in, but these 3 kids take a portal to another world and the world is just starting to go into complete turmoil and these kids are just like caught in the middle of it. And I absolutely love that. So is it 5 stars though? Honestly, no. I feel like it got better as the book went on. I feel like the beginning was like pretty rough in terms of, I think it took us just a while to get to the backstory of the world. And I wish it would have gotten there a bit sooner because I was confused, I feel like, for the first 30% of the book. And I feel like if there had maybe been a little bit more world building in the beginning instead of so much action, it would have balanced it out a bit better. But that's like the only thing I really feel like I have to say about it. So again, another 4 to 4.5 book that we're reading during this readathon. As a quick readathon recap, I finished 2 audiobooks, How to End a Love Story. I don't know, I'm pretty sure that's a 3. And then When in Rome, which I'm going to give between a 4 and a 4.5. I really need to distinguish between 4s and 4.5s. I think this readathon has also taught me that. So I finished those 2 audiobooks. I finished the Soulburn Talisman as an ebook. I finished A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. Again, 3 to 3.5. Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto as well. So overall, 5 books finished. I feel really proud of myself. I just realized too, I'm pretty sure that I might accidentally end up doing the August readathon very early. In August, that's really my bad. I forgot what I had going on at the end of the month. Whoopsie daisy. So the August readathon is probably gonna hit you sooner than you think, but honestly, that's okay. I am excited to get to it regardless. I have quite a few author events coming up that I'm going to. I have 2 in August and I have 2 in September. It was just gonna be 1 in September, but I was really sneaky today and I found out an author event and I'm number 1 in the signing line. So I feel like that's just super exciting. I almost feel like that's a little like goal that I've been working towards with author events. And then there'll be some other little videos thrown in there in between. But I am just overall really grateful to have the time to read and to want to prioritize reading. So this readathon I feel like was really successful and I hope you keep reading and I will catch you in the next one.